I'm Vienna Sparks, the CEO of MabLab. We test for laced drugs and spiked drinks to ensure that no one overdoses ever again.
I walked into class on a Monday morning, looking for my lab partner Cassie's familiar face. When I noticed she wasn't there, I was hit with the reality that would change my life forever. That Cassie had overdosed while taking laced recreational drugs. And the thing is, Cassie never could have known those drugs were laced to begin with. However, Cassie's story is not unique. There are more than 109,000 deaths that occur every single year from laced drugs and more than 5.2 million injuries, which equate to a $12.4 billion cost to the US medical system. However, current products on the market only test for just fentanyl, which is a fraction of the leading lacing agents likely to cause a fatal overdose. So here at MabLab, we built a 5-in-1 test strip capable of detecting these 5 substances simultaneously with unparalleled accuracy in a matter of seconds. We're building off of the established technology of monoclonal antibodies, which is commonly found in both COVID-19 and pregnancy tests, giving users that familiar control and test line that is easy to comprehend and understandable at the same time. Our solution is patent defensible and does not require FDA regulation as a Class 1 exempt medical device. Each test will be sold for just $5, making it affordable and accessible to the end user, while also giving us a 70% profit margin, which we only expect to increase with economies of scale into 2025. So now, let's take a closer look at how to use the test strip on behalf of the end user. So imagine my co-founder Sky here. He's a fellow partygoer on his way to Coachella. His friend hands him something. While he wants to have a good time, he wants to make sure that having a good time won't potentially kill him. So all Sky needs to do is potentially put a little bit of the substance into the provided water-based or buffer solution. All it takes is 5 to 8 grains for a successful test to run. Then he simply submerges the test strip, waits 3 to 5 seconds, removes the test strip, and results will begin to show almost instantaneously. However, we say wait the full 2 to 3 minutes as indicated on our test strip packaging to ensure that no other results appear, as sometimes the line darkens with time. So let's circle back to the competitive landscape and look at these results at the end of our presentation. So the competitive landscape for MabLab specifically, the biggest competitor is BTNX, a competitor that sells a little over 40 million test strips annually. But these tests only test for just fentanyl, which is problematic when there's thousands of other lacing agents that could potentially cause a fatal overdose. And additionally, they lack accuracy, which is very problematic when we're dealing with really small limits of detection, when 1 to 2 grains could be fatal. Other solutions on the market are companies like Confer Biosciences or forensics proficiency testing, where you send samples off to a remote laboratory or pee in a cup after you overdose. These solutions are not great at preventing the overdose to begin with, or are costly and not affordable or accessible to the end user. So right now we're going B2B, selling to university health services, harm reduction centers, and local and state governments. So far, we've secured over $100,000 in test strips and pre-orders from some of the following B2B partners. And additionally, we chose these 3 B2B partners as they have existing distribution pipelines in place for fentanyl test strips, making it an easy shift to using our product. To scale, we plan to go B2B2C, selling to pharmacy stores like CVS and Walgreens, bars and restaurants, as well as music festivals. Following on that Coachella example, we're actually negotiating a contract with Coachella with hopes of having our test strips at their 2025 music festival, so partygoers like Sky can stay safe. Additionally, we plan to scale by going B2B, looking at law enforcement, fire departments, as well as veteran agencies, all of which have a vested interest in keeping the communities that they serve safe. The drug and drink testing market size is frankly huge, with just $3 billion being our initial beachhead here at MabLab, focusing on drug consumers that have been already actively using fentanyl test strips and alcohol consumers who have already had their drinks spiked in the United States. Where we're at right now is we're currently working on really bringing our product to market. The legalization of drugs has given new opportunities for drug safety. Specifically, with states like New York and California have made new legislative changes, with California mandating that fentanyl test strips are offered in both bars as well as schools. And second, there's been a huge injection of public funding, with $26 billion being allocated across health departments towards harm reduction solutions like ours. And the sad fact is, over 40% of Americans know someone like Cassie who has passed away from a drug overdose. So the time to act is now. So that way your daughter or loved ones doesn't have to suffer in silence from a deadly overdose. Where we're at right now is we're currently raising our seed round for $2.5 million, which will give us 16 to 18 months of runway and take us all the way through our product market launch. This will also allow us to enact our AI ML model, which allows us to track where different outbreaks are occurring in populations, and also has a predictive component, allowing us to quickly add new lacing agents to our test strip, helping us keep track of the quickly changing landscape of the lacing drug market. To scale, we plan to continue to go on the B2B2C front, as well as launching a secondary test strip, an allergen test strip, into year 4, all leveraging our existing IP. This is the wonderful team that makes it all possible. Myself and Sky are both co-founders. I grew up in Thailand, where I noticed a huge issue of laced drugs and traveled around the world, living in over 5 countries where I saw the same issue repeatedly. And coming back to the United States for school, Sky saw the same thing growing up in New York, where in the Bronx, where he went to high school, he repeatedly saw people pass away from drug overdoses. So together, we joined forces with previous startup experience to help solve this issue once and for all. On the scientific side, we're joined by 4 postdocs with domain expertise from structural biology as well as immunology, helping us tackle this problem in the lab front on. So now, let's take a look at those results. As you can see here, there's only one line indicating that the test ran successfully, but Sky is free to party safe as there's no potentially deadly lacing agents present in the sample. So enjoy your time at Coachella, Sky. So together, let's end all overdoses from laced drugs so no one has to lose a friend like we lost Cassie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, MabLab. Judges.
Well, thank you so much for presenting. This is incredible. Question for you, a little bit open-ended. What do you think the main risks are of this business?
Yeah, I would say the main risks are definitely working to, as this is a fast-changing market, as we're seeing more legal changes on this, kind of staying on top of those. So one way that we're doing that currently is working on partnerships with governments, harm reduction centers that are really kind of at the forefront of the pipeline of the money being received from that grant funding, the $26 billion being allocated, as well as being sure to tackle the legislative changes right on. So working closely with bars in California, as well as different music festivals that are quickly putting the test strips in place.
Have you thought about form factors to make it more viable to keep it like on you at all times?
Yeah, we're exploring a few different options for that. So for example, with form factors, do you mean like alternative forms of test strips?
Or, does it have a holster that
Yeah.
sticks to your phone or something?
Absolutely. So we're working on a couple of like phone cases potentially to put your test strip in. If you've seen like the ones that hold your credit cards, we're having a few of those that we're sampling, as well as making keychains as well, like people can quickly attach to their purses or bags. We've seen a huge success. We've also been doing some TikTok and Instagram content recently for partying safe, like Halloween, that kind of thing. So making sure that people can have the test strip accessible in that sense.
Yeah, or alternatively, if you're at a bar or restaurant, having the test strip in a straw factor, so you can put a straw into the drink itself, see if it's laced or not. Same with napkins, pour a little bit onto the napkin itself, and then see if it's spiked or not. But that's in R&D right now.
Yeah.
How do you think about balancing increased safety while maybe encouraging responsible access and consumption of recreational drugs? Thought I'll ask the elephant in the room question.
Yeah, so the goal for us is to do something similar to the drunk driving campaign. If you want to keep your friends accountable when you're going out for a night to drink or use drugs, potentially keeping that test strip in the back of your pocket. So if your friend ever has a drink, they left it out in the bar too long, having that say, okay, Vienna, for example, I've seen you left your drink out, here's a test strip I have, you can test to see if it's spiked or not, and then you go about your day.
And on the safe consumption side, we're doing a lot of educational campaigns and partners with nonprofits as well as the student health services we're partnering with. So for example, we're working with Brown University currently to do a safe recreational usage campaign, kind of coming from the standpoint that we recognize that people are going to say have sex when they go to college. So we want to make sure that people might also be using drugs and drinks safely with their first college party.
What is the process of being able to test for additional substances that you currently are unable to today?
Yeah, so we have an AI ML model that's allowing us to track where outbreaks are occurring in populations. We're pulling data from things like police reports as well as anonymous self-reporting on our own platform once we launch our product. And from that, we'll be seeing which lacing agents are commonly occurring and outbreaking in different cities. And then the turnaround to add that product to our test strip, a 6th or 7th lacing agent, would be around a month to 2 months.
And what is your manufacturing facility? How does that scale as you hopefully get to much more revenue, much more customers?
Yeah, we're working with a manufacturing facility in Massachusetts currently. We're doing our third-party validation studies with them, making sure that the accuracy results that they're getting is what we've gotten from our in-house testing. Their average contract sizes ranges anywhere from 5 to 50 million units annually, so we're not too worried about scale for the foreseeable future, but also exploring a few other options in case that one fails initially or if we want to switch later down the line.
Why hasn't BT-NX expanded outside of fentanyl?
Yeah, the primary reason is because of the risk of cross-reactivity, which is where something triggers a positive response for something it shouldn't. So if they add a second lacing agent to the test strip, their accuracy goes down substantially, which is very problematic when dealing with really small molecules that could potentially be fatal in 1 to 2 grains. How we're able to overcome that is by curating specific chemical zones on the membrane pad of our test strip that kind of act independently of each other on the same test strip itself. So it's able to still detect highly accurate results for multiple substances simultaneously.
And I will add that the closest substitute they have is creating individual test strips. So they had to create 5 test strips for each of the lacing agents we're testing for. So that's your initial MVP, having a kit that combined all 5 test strips into one. The main problem we've seen there is that it was a bit too bulky, described somewhat of as a scientific experiment rather than just making sure your drugs or drinks are safe. So that's how we came up with the 5-in-1 test strip design.
Back to the topic of risk, do you see any liability if there's an issue with either user error or, in fact, just the strip malfunctions?
And maybe backing off of that, what is the error rate? And how does that compare to the industry standard?
Yeah, do you want to talk to Arrow first?
So our current in-house testing results are between 99.5 to 99.9% accuracy. Other tests on the market are anywhere between 80 to 95%, so a substantial improvement there. In terms of limited detection, our competitors like BT-NX for fentanyl is 200 nanograms per milliliter. We're coming in at 30.33 nanograms per milliliter, which is a substantial improvement there as well. And the same can be said for the other lacing agents. There's just not a direct comparison as there's not a test strip out there.
And on the product liability front, for the current fentanyl test strips that exist, they have a line on the packaging saying for forensic use only. So just to detect, is this laced or is it not laced? It's not giving you a recommendation on whether to continue using it if it's laced or not laced.
Got it.
One more quick question. All right, give it up for MabLab.
Thank you.